Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Dan Wheaton. I'm a registered architect. I'm the owner of 1010 Architecture. I'm going to pass out a handout for everybody. So I'm there in the beginning. I'm the upfront guy who's kind of telling you what you can and can't do. Hi guys.
Hello, Dan.
I didn't recognize you.
I love this handout, by the way. This is an excellent handout that Dan did. And by the way, Dan did the design for Al and Dorothy's house. And which they're very happy with.
We're very happy with everything that is being done.
Thank you.
We're so excited.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Unbelievable.
So generally, obviously, I'm there to tell you what you can and can't do. The simple answer right now is it depends, because everybody's house is a little different. So this first handout gives kind of a demonstration of what the flood zone is. That's usually the first question I get. What is this flood zone? Where does it relate to? How does my house relate? The average flood zone for most people is a AE8. And people's first thought is, do I have to be 8 feet off of the ground? No. What you have to be, and you can see this, is you have to be 8 feet above the average sea level. Whatever the ocean is at the middle of the day, not high, not low tide, but an average mark that some satellite made 10 years ago. You have to be above that point. So your dirt, the level of your property varies. And they vary anywhere, I've seen as low as 2, which means you're getting flooding on a pretty regular basis, up to, for anyone who's in a flood zone, generally up to an elevation of about 8 to 9. So depending on your dirt's height against the sea level, that then tells us how high we actually have to be off the ground. And then every town, so FEMA, there's a bunch of different regulations. FEMA has their own set of guidelines, and they print out what are called FIRM maps, flood insurance rate maps, which is the AE8, a V12, all these different names and numbers. And that is a different system that the New Jersey Building Code bases their information off of. But the New Jersey Building Code automatically requires a 1 foot, they call it this word freeboard, but it's a safety factor, essentially built in. And then some towns require additional safety factors. Point Pleasant, I believe, is 3. Ocean City is 2.
Point's 2, Ocean City, I think. I thought it was 3.
It might be 3 now, too, yeah. But a lot of towns just fall back to the New Jersey building standards. Now I'll back up a step. What are the different flood zones? There's essentially 3 now, since there's a new building code that went into effect last year. There's an A zone, an A coastal zone, and a V zone. Now most of you are probably in an A zone. 90% of the homes are in just a regular A. And that's simple. Whatever your flood zone is your flood zone. And your floor, where your feet actually touch, the top of the floor has to be above that number. And then the New Jersey Building Code requires you go even higher than that. But we're basing it off of the floor level. Coastal A and V are now sort of the same thing. And it means you're having waves hitting your house. So certain bayfront homes that are to the open bay or ocean fronts, it's mostly ocean fronts that face these. We're starting to see the coastal A's crop up a little bit on open bay homes on the islands or on the mainland.
Everyone here, as a note, everyone here currently is in the AE zone.
Okay.
Except for Mike, who's on the bay side of Seaside Park, South Seaside Park.
Okay.
So he is in a coastal A.
Okay.
But no one here is in a V zone.
Okay.
Just to,
So the coastal A and V are kind of the same thing, they just have different heights. But what it means for you, sir, is we measure to the lowest horizontal structure. So we're no longer measuring to the floor, we're measuring to whatever is connecting the piles or whatever is horizontal that's holding up that whole system. And that's the big difference. So there are 2 different measuring points. And generally speaking, you have a secondary set of requirements as to you have to design the house so that waves hitting it doesn't impact the structure. And we can get into that and spend the whole time in the seminar. But long story short, V and coastal A's are more complicated. Not drastically, but it's a different animal than the rest of you who have just a regular A zone. And the second question I get is, not only how high do I have to go, which gets answered. So the only way we can answer how high you have to go, we need a survey that shows the elevation of your dirt on your property and then your flood zone. I match the two of those, and then how high can we go? And in some cases, you might be forced to go up 6, 7 feet. So 9 times out of 10, we just go up and give you a garage underneath and get you out of the flood zone. Other ones, you know, if you want to try for older people who don't want to walk up as many stairs every time, we try to split the difference. Maybe we go up 4 or 6 feet. But those can only be answered once your property is looked at with the flood maps and with how high the elevation of your property actually is. So that goes back to the point I made. It depends. I can't give anybody a straight answer because it varies drastically from property to property.
But by the way, now, just on that point that Dan's making, before, some people engage an architect first, like Dan, and then we'll wind up with those plans, and some people will engage us, and then we'll do the design, and then go to Dan. One of the things that you touched on a little bit about how high to go, and this is kind of an important thing. If you're close to, if you already have to be 6 feet high off the ground, then sometimes that extra foot or two doesn't really cost you much more, and then you get the whole downstairs.
Or 3 feet, yeah.
Yeah, or 3 feet. So
This way you have the headroom.
yeah, so you have the headroom and whatnot. And then also just to touch on the elevation and how high to elevate. As of right now, the FEMA maps have still not been finalized. The FEMA maps that were promulgated upon us in early 2013, which they have been telling us for every 6 months for the last 4 years are going to be finalized. They are still not finalized. So it's advisable, even though, like Dan said, you only have to go that 1 foot higher. You have to go the freeboard, the 1 foot or 2 foot, whatever the township is. You should assume that you should go at least base flood plus 3, if not higher, because they're not final.
And they're always
still
modifiable.
And they're not final. That's absolutely.
They're always modifiable.
They're always modifiable. It's a lot harder to modify them once they take a position. But for 4 years now, they're still. That's why they're called advisory, because they're still not final. Okay,
And there's a
sorry.
secondary note. I, as a professional, don't agree with a lot of the flood zones. Some of them are lower than where we know the storm came to be. So in some areas, you can legally build your house where you would get flooded again by Sandy. But I, as a professional, will not allow you to do that. If you want to do that, I will just not take the job. I'll walk away from it. And what he gets to, what I'm going to recommend, is that you get your entire floor system, which is generally the floor system and then the beams below it. You want to get all of that out of this flood zone and above the 3 feet. It's not only a safety factor, it gets you lower insurance rates, and it also ensures that if there is another flood again at the same level, you don't have to replace anything. It's safe. That's the whole point of this. The whole point of what FEMA is trying to do is force you to go up so they don't have to pay you again. So that you keep paying into your insurance, but you don't really suffer damage during a storm. That's kind of the point. But that's an important point to know. You really want your lowest beam to be out. He has to in a coastal. I recommend that same standard for the people who are not in this coastal area, but in a standard.
And also, as a note, we build in 20 different townships, and now almost all of them, if not all of them, are requiring that exactly what Dan just said, that you not only have your finished floor at base flood plus 1 or base flood plus 2, but the floor system and the girder also have to be above base flood. So, though it's technically not required by FEMA, because it's not required by FEMA, but every township in New Jersey, we have 562 municipalities. Every municipality has the option to adopt a code that's more stringent than the state code. And everybody along the shore has said, you know, forget that. We're not even going to take a chance. If it could flood to the beam, to the girder or the floor system, you have to lift it up that much higher.
And that's another reason as to why there's no straight answer that I can give. Each town is different. So you could be 2 blocks over in Brick or in Toms River, and you might have different requirements as to where your house has to be. And like I said, what you want to do is go to a professional for professional advice. And my advice is going to get you as high as you can, so that at the very least, if Sandy happens again, your house isn't getting flooded in any way, and there's no damage to this new work that we've proposed. And I think it's just smart and practical. And then getting back to how high, the first question I get is, how high do I go? The first answer is, how high are you required to go? The second is, can we get you lower if you're in an optimal zone where your dirt's a little higher so you don't have to walk up as many stairs? That is a real concern, how many stairs you have to get up versus can I afford to put an elevator on? Does an elevator fit on my older home that I'm lifting? Usually no. It doesn't usually, it's not very practical, and in many cases it's literally not legal to put an elevator attached to it. So but that's a question that has to be flushed out with your particular project. Then you got me off point.
I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, because you do a good presentation. I take notes and then I want to clarify things. So
the second question I get is, how are we elevating my home? Do I need a foundation? Can I keep my existing foundation? And once again, it depends. If your foundation, generally speaking, if it was built before 1980, it's iffy. If it's built in the 60s, absolutely not, we're going to tear that out. If it's built in the 70s, there's a possibility. If it's built 80s later, it's probably a good foundation if it's on masonry, but that always has to be inspected by me or by a professional. I'm an architect, and the term gets loosely banded around to architect or engineering. I do my own structural engineering. Architects are allowed if they decide to. It's sort of like doctors. Just by being a doctor doesn't mean I can perform heart surgery. I might be a general practitioner. Whereas my architectural profession, I've chosen to pursue structural engineering, soils engineering, so I do it all in-house. But all of those questions kind of get answered with the foundation inspections, soil borings, as he pointed out. Some houses we just have to do new piles. So there's a lot of tricks. You can move the house out of the way, drive new piles and move it back. And that all gets solved when we know some of the specifics of your project. And it's always cheaper if we can go up and keep your existing foundation, but we can only do that obviously if it's structurally sound and if it's deemed by me or another professional to be able to be built upon. And if it's deemed not, then we have to figure out ways to do either new piles or helical piles, which are gigantic, essentially they're screws. And what we can do is put those under the ground and get underneath your existing house if we can't move around. But these are all in steps of cost. So keeping your existing foundation and going straight up, cheapest. If we can't do that, moving your house out of the way, driving piles is usually the cheapest than moving it back. Then the third, final choice, if there is none, helical piles, which are the most expensive and are usually chosen if there's really no other option. But to get into that is really a conversation you have to have with me on a personal level. Site visits, soil borings, your house, there's a lot of variables in determining all of those factors. And there's no way for me to give a straight answer on that. I have one joke I forgot to add in, I was thinking of. When he had talked about doing your own general contracting, I don't want to beat it to death, but I specifically have in my contract that if you choose not to hire a general contractor with an experienced general contractor, that there will be additional fees, and that liability is taken from me and put onto you. It's specific language in my contract. And I always use it because, generally speaking, anyone who does their own general contracting makes one very simple but very crucial mistake that wipes away any savings they would have made. And then they now have a second full-time job and no savings. And then they call me 3-4 times a week, and at some point I say that's enough's enough and I'm going to start charging you, and then you stop calling me. That's usually the progression of general contracting.
Okay.
But, so I wanted to end on that.
No, thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.